Thanks very much, Rachel. Women's Month is not only an opportune time for us to celebrate the achievement of women in various spheres, but it is also a time for us to understand the challenges that they face. In acknowledgement of the tribulations suffered by widows, including grief, economic insecurity, discrimination, stigma, and harmful traditional practices, the Department of Social Development has embarked on a program to support bereaved women. We now speak to Palesa Mguli, who has been a widow for 18 years, as well as Dr. Bongi Owusu, who is the director of the Widows Program in the Department of Social Development. Good morning, Palesa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ms. Chaba. Good morning.
And good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning, Ms. Chaba. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Palesa, let's start with you. First and foremost, you have been widowed for 18 years. You were just 21.
That's right.
When you lost your spouse.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing that story with us?
Absolutely. So, at the age of 21, I was still in varsity and fell pregnant. Sadly, I could not even finish school at that point. I finished it, I completed my degree later on. But I had to put my studies on hold, and my spouse then passed on when my son, or rather our son, was 8 months. And I think being young and, having been a young mom and being pregnant and putting your studies on hold and then having to experience losing a partner was a difficult journey for me. So we were about to get married. He had taken out lobola. And our life was just cut short.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah, I guess as rightfully this program was created, and I'll refer this question to you, Dr. Owusu. This program was created to provide support to women like Palesa, and you yourself are a widow, and you're an author as well. You've penned your story in a book called Silent Pain. Before we get into the actual program, talk to me about the plight of widows, especially in light of your own journey.
Thanks, Master Chaba. Indeed, being widowed, it's not something that every woman looks forward to. When you get married, you want to spend the rest of your life with your partner. But along the way, tragedy strikes and you lose your partner, and there are so many injustices that you are exposed to. Firstly, let me just say, Palesa, sorry, you were very young when you lost your spouse. I thought I was very young because I was also in my 20s, but I was older than 21. So there are so many practices, Master Chaba, that you are exposed to based on the traditional practices that you are told that when you are a widow, you must behave in a certain way, and suddenly you lose your dignity. They will be referring you as someone's widow, not by your name. Nobody will be calling you Bongi. You will be referred to as somebody's widows. And at some point, you will be expected to go to the river in the morning to bath because they believe that there is this bad omen that you are carrying. So for the first 10 days, around 4 a.m., you must go to the river and remove that bad omen that they believe that you are carrying. And meanwhile, I don't know whether they understand that they're exposing you to dangers because you are going to that river alone. Nobody's accompanying you. So, in South Africa, we have so much of gender-based violence. We have so much of rape. So you are exposed to rape because people will know that from the neighborhood, there's this widow who's waking up at 4 a.m. Especially in winter, it's still dark because they are saying nobody must see you when you are going to remove that bad omen. And in most cases, you will be the number one accused. They will think that you have a hand in killing your husband. So the journey is not nice because you are exposed to so many injustices. You will be accused of killing your husband. And some women in the neighborhood will be not free if they see you talking to their husband because they don't know whether now you want to date their husband. And the pain is so much, and the journey that widows go through, it's not the same. We know that women are not a homogeneous group. Some, they will be fighting for inheritance, and some will be just completely destitute. Like how this day started, the International for Widows Day, because it started in India. When it started, it was started by a man who experienced the injustices his mom went through when his father passed on when he was 10, because they were exposed to so much poverty just because now we didn't have anyone to take care of, because the father was a breadwinner, had passed on. So the journey is different for each and every widow, but I'm hoping that my journey will have impact to heal a widow who might be going through same problems or going through same injustices that I was exposed to as a young widow.
My goodness. Palesa, what was your experience as a young widow yourself following the death of your spouse?
I mean, my experience was a very painful one. I think emotionally having to go through that. I mean, dealing with, you know, just giving birth and then having to deal with death was probably the most difficult thing to date that I've had to face as a woman. And I think also, you know, trying to navigate life being a single mom, you know, was also quite a challenge for me. And I mean, dealing with my spouse's family, I mean, they've been great, but I would have liked a bit more support in raising this child, because I mean, with my family, we are predominantly women. So my son has been raised by women, and my spouse's family are predominantly male. And all I wanted for my son is to have a male figure or male figures to raise him. So I'm struggling with that.
Why is that?
At the moment?
Why do you think?
I don't know. You know, I just feel like they're not stepping up as much as I would like to. I mean, he's got uncles. I mean, there's one uncle that is trying his best to support me emotionally, and you know, and support does not mean financial assistance. What is important for me is how we raise this child together, and I just really just want him to have great support from his male uncles, and yeah, so it's really has just been, yeah, it has been emotionally taxing, I must say. I mean, I think I mourned the death of my spouse for 3 years. I don't remember how my son grew up the first 3 years of his life. I don't remember his first walk. You know, it was just a blur. And I mean, I think now I always keep a reminder of who his father is. He doesn't know who his father is. He's never seen him. But I try and keep his memory alive for the sake of my son. But I mean, if the other side were to contribute more in terms of him knowing where he comes from, that is absolutely the most important thing, but I'm not getting that.
I'm sorry to hear that. It's interesting because they say that the oppression by other women is pervasive, and I'm mentioning this because I don't know how much this ties into what Dr. Owusu has said about how widows are often not only just neglected, but women tend to distance themselves from widows and try and keep their husbands away because they think you are going to steal their husbands because you don't have one anymore. Do you think this may be a contributing factor?
Not necessarily. I really don't think so. I think the problem, or what is expected of widows, is to be strong. I remember the one thing that my mom has been extremely supportive through all of this. And she said to me, Palesa, I don't know how to support you because I have not gone through this. Your father is still here. I don't know what to say to you, so I'll just be here as a mom. But that kind of triggered me because also she doesn't know, you know, how to treat me in this instance. But all I just wanted was, I did not want to be strong. I just wanted to cry and be vulnerable. But that is the expectation that you know, you just need to suck it up and move on. But how do we do that?
So, Dr. Owusu, you know, over and above the overwhelming grief and trauma experienced by the death of a spouse that no one can imagine until it's happened to you, but there are also other issues or challenges that very few people know about. I mean, if it were not for International Widows Day, I wouldn't even know about the plight of widows, such as things like high tax rates on their late husbands' estates and lack of clear information on pensions. How is this program, the Widows Program, assisting to support widows in this instance?
Yeah, Master Chaba, that is very painful. There was one widow when we were in Mthatha last week who shared her story that the way she is taxed, because the moment you get the spousal income and you are employed, then suddenly the tax bracket changes. So now she was sharing that she can't even afford to take her kids to tertiary because, again, she can't benefit from NSFAS because she works for government and she's getting that spousal income. So what we do as social development is to call upon the stakeholders like SARS, like GEPF, like Department of Justice to come and have conversations with widows so that they can explain how the tax works when it comes to taxing widows who are getting a spousal income. And I am hoping that in a way SARS can you know, I don't know because I don't know their systems, but I just wish that they can have a way of having, I don't know whether tax rebates or tax amnesty, especially for widows, because no one wants her spouse to pass on. It's like you are being victimized that your spouse is gone. It's a secondary victimization that you are a widow, you are getting this money, the money that is meant to be assisting your kids. Now you can't even afford to assist your kids because the tax is very high. So I don't know how SARS can come and we have discussions. That day they were there, but they have their own policies and systems. But in a way, I'm just hoping that they can have amnesty or different tax that is applied to widows.
Doctor, thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much, Palesa, for having the courage to come and share your story.
Thank you, Ms. Chaba.
All right, so that was Palesa Mguli, who has been a widow for 18 years, as well as Dr. Bongi Owusu, who is the director of the Widows Program in the Department of Social Development. She is also the author of Silent Pain.